The Manhattan skyline glittered outside the penthouse windows, a masterpiece of glass and steel. From the 78th floor of his luxury tower, Alexander Cole looked out at the city that never slept, a city that knew his name. Billionaire, visionary, genius. These were the titles the world had given him. At 38, Alexander had everything most people dreamed of: a sprawling glass-wall apartment, a garage of European supercars, private jets, and a company that had changed the way people lived. His face appeared on magazine covers. His speeches were quoted across business schools, and every investor wanted to be associated with his empire. Yet in the quiet moments, when the parties ended and the applause faded, Alexander found himself alone in the silence. He poured a glass of sparkling water from the crystal decanter. He didn't drink alcohol anymore, not since his late 20s, and sat in the darkened living room. The city lights painted fractured patterns across the marble floor. It should have felt like victory. Instead, it felt like being locked inside a cage. Alexander thought about the people around him. His board of directors respected him, but they feared him more than they liked him. His so-called friends were business partners who smiled at dinners but competed behind closed doors. And his phone, always buzzing, always full, never carried a single message that asked, "How are you, Alex?" without an ulterior motive. He was surrounded by thousands, yet profoundly alone. Sleep had become a stranger. For weeks, he had been haunted by a single persistent thought. If I disappeared tomorrow, would anyone truly miss me? Not my money, not my empire, but me? The thought unsettled him. He shifted in his chair, staring at his own reflection in the glass wall. Behind the sharp, tailored suit, the perfectly styled hair, and the billionaire's smile, he saw a man who was lost. Outside, the city roared with ambition. Inside, Alexander felt a quiet emptiness growing louder each night. He closed his eyes, unaware that this restlessness was the beginning of a journey that would take him far beyond his glass walls and force him to discover a truth no amount of wealth could ever buy. The morning sun washed over Manhattan, spilling golden light across Alexander Cole's penthouse. From the outside, it looked like another day in the life of a billionaire. His personal chef prepared an organic breakfast, his assistant lined up meetings, and his driver waited downstairs to take him to the headquarters of Cole Dynamics, the tech giant that had made him a household name. But Alexander's eyes were hollow. He hadn't slept more than 3 hours. His body functioned on routine, but his mind was slipping into shadows he couldn't control. At the office, polished steel and glass reflected success at every angle. The boardroom was filled with powerful men and women, bankers, investors, politicians. They spoke about growth charts, market dominance, expansion into Europe. Everyone praised him. Everyone admired him. And then it happened. Midway through presentation, Alexander felt a sudden tightness in his chest. His vision blurred. The confident words on the screen became meaningless shapes. He tried to steady his voice, but his throat closed. "Mr. Cole, are you all right?" one of the directors asked, his tone more impatient than concerned. Alexander gripped the edge of the table. Sweat dripped down his temple. For the first time in his life, he couldn't control the moment. He excused himself and stepped out, his polished shoes echoing against the marble hallway. In the privacy of his office, he collapsed into his leather chair, hands trembling. The fear was unfamiliar, terrifying. He had faced billion-dollar risks, hostile takeovers, ruthless competitors, but nothing like this invisible storm inside his body. His personal doctor rushed in an hour later. After a thorough checkup, the verdict was clear. It's not your heart, Alex. It's anxiety. Severe stress. Your body is telling you it can't keep living like this. Alexander laughed bitterly. I have everything money can buy. How can I be empty? The doctor placed a hand on his shoulder. Because money doesn't heal what's inside. That night, Alexander stood again before his glass walls, staring at the city that worshipped him. For the first time, he admitted something he had buried for years. I am not happy. I am not free. It was a breaking point. He realized his empire had given him the world, but stolen his peace. And unless he found a new purpose, all his billions would mean nothing. A week after the boardroom incident, Alexander Cole made a decision no one in his circle expected. He canceled meetings, postponed deals worth millions, and instructed his pilot to ready the jet. For the first time in 20 years, he didn't have a business plan, only a restless need to escape. His assistant asked nervously, "Sir, may I ask, where are we going?" Alexander adjusted his cufflinks, staring out at the Manhattan skyline. Anywhere but here. The jet carried him westward. He skipped the luxury hotels and grand resorts his peers would have chosen, instead booking modest stays under an alias. He didn't want Alexander Cole, the billionaire, to travel. He wanted Alexander, the man, to disappear into America. His first stop was a small town in Texas. Dusty roads, diners with neon lights, and people who recognized each other by name. For the first time in decades, no one recognized him. He sat at a diner booth, drinking coffee, listening to conversations about crops, families, football games, ordinary lives. He envied their simplicity. Later that evening, walking through quiet streets, he met an elderly man fixing an old pickup truck outside his home. The man looked up, smiled, and said, "Need a hand, stranger?" Alexander hesitated. No one had called him stranger in years. He was always Sir Mr. Cole or CEO. Something about that simple word felt grounding. He helped the man with the truck, getting grease on his expensive hands. The old man talked about his late wife, his children, and the joy of building things that lasted. That night, Alexander lay awake in the small-town motel, staring at the ceiling fan. He realized something profound. These people had far less than him, yet their lives were richer in ways his wealth could never buy. The search had begun.